We are essentially at the eve of NFL free agency. It is not far away. And with that, I figured it would be fun to unveil my perfect 5-step plan for the Broncos to have an A-plus NFL free agency window. So we're going to run through my perfect free agency plan for your Denver Broncos. But first, don't miss any signings by being subscribed to the channel. We are trying to reach our next milestone, 12,400 subs. Would love to get there before Monday morning gets going, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. My first step of a perfect free agency plan for the Broncos is signing offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey. Possibly the reason why you clicked onto today's show, and I don't think it requires much explanation or analysis. Look at the current depth chart. There's not many guys returning that you want to see coming back. Plus, you have a big question mark at right tackle. Billy Turner's a free agent, along with Calvin Anderson, Cam Fleming. There is simply no one there if there was a game tomorrow. That is the biggest need, in my opinion, for this team. And Mike McGlinchey is an awesome right tackle. He has been stellar for the 49ers since he got drafted there 5 years ago. Last year, PFF ranked him as the 35th best offensive tackle. An overall grade of 71.5, which, yeah, it's not Trent Williams, but there's not always a Trent Williams in free agency. And Mike McGlinchey is just entering the prime of his career. We know that offensive tackles tend to age like a fine wine, right? You bring them over, they're in their late 30s, and somehow Jason Peters or Dwayne Brown still put together an awesome season at the drop of a hat. Plus, when you look at what he's done through 5 seasons so far, at least in the eyes of PFF, which is really the only metric you have to evaluate offensive linemen, he has been consistent, right? Never going lower than a 67.4 overall grade, and he is right there in the mid-70s pretty much year in and year out. So, what would it cost to get McGlinchey? Well, Spo tracked his contract projections, and they think he's going to get 4 years, $59 million in free agency. That's an average of $14.8 million a season. I think a lot of Spotrac's contract projections have been on the lower side. The cap keeps going up, and the offensive tackle class in this upcoming draft, which is a very important, tool to determine how much free agents are going to get in that same position group. The draft class for offensive tackles, I think, is really good. I don't think it's maybe the best we've ever seen, though. So I think McGlinchey could probably get closer to $16 million than $14 and, $800,000. Now, of the couple names we're going to look at today, who do you want Denver to sign, right? Is it Mike McGlinchey? Is it someone else? Let me know who you want the Broncos to go out and sign in free agency. The second prong to my 5-step perfect free agency plan, I'm going to really compound what I said with number 1. It's sign any offensive lineman. If you don't get Mike McGlinchey because he gets more money from another team, that's fine. You got to get someone else, though, right? When you look at the top offensive tackle free agents, there are a lot of great names. Donovan Smith, recently released by the Bucs, he has been their longtime starting tackle. You already got a left tackle. Maybe you bounce him over. Dillard, he's awesome too. Well, I shouldn't say he's awesome. He's unknown, right? Former first-round pick that's just sort of been in the wings of some great players in Philly. Then you got Kaleb McGary, who we'll look at closer in just a second. Jawaan Taylor, a former second-round pick. I know he's been rumored-ish to the Broncos. That's a name to keep an eye on. Ja'Wuan James from Baltimore. There's Andrew Wylie. There's Jermaine Eluemunor. Taylor Lewan. Cam Fleming. Also, Orlando Brown from the Chiefs. I don't think he's going to end up with the Broncos, but that would be a very, very fun signing, no doubt about it. But let's talk about Kaleb McGary. If I could zero in on one of those guys aside from Mike McGlinchey, McGary is an interesting name to watch for. Why? Because the Falcons did not place the franchise tag on him, which means they are open to testing him in free agency and seeing what the market says his value is worth. Now, he's coming off a really great season. He was the 4th best tackle last year, according to PFF. The first 3 seasons, not that good. He was pretty underwhelming. That's why they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. But last year, according to PFF, he was fantastic. I don't think there is any such thing as overkill when it comes to the offensive line for Denver this offseason. From free agency to the draft, I don't think they can do too much at that spot. I'll take all the guys they can get because whether it's open spots like right tackle or left guard or places for improvement like the center position, they have to address the entire offensive line outside of Quinn Miners. Now, we got more perfect free agency plans and steps to get to in just a second, but today's show is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I recently gave AG1 a try because I hated taking pills/vitamins and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. It really helps me with starting my day on the right foot and getting into a healthier lifestyle. I start the day with making one great choice, AG1, and more healthy decisions then follow. Covering my nutritional basis for the day also couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning, and it's done. I also really like that it costs less than $3 a day, which is pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. So win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I put that link for everyone in the comments and the description of today's show. The third pillar of my perfect free agency plan, it's signing David Montgomery, which I don't think the January version of myself would have included come March, but I think the running back position has gotten steadily more and more important throughout the offseason with the impending results of when is Javonte Williams going to return to the field. So David Montgomery is the running back I am zeroing in on. In his career for the Chicago Bears, he's had some great seasons, over 1,000 yards in 2020, a little bit of a regression in 2021 and 2022. They really like Khalil Herbert in Chicago, their backup back, and Montgomery has missed some time, so he stepped in and done a good job doing so. But the root of this conversation starts with this guy, Javonte Williams. When is he going to return? No one knows that. And I think they have to prepare, and they should plan on not having Williams for 2023. I don't think that's all that hot of a take. He suffered a major knee injury in October of 2022. So with that in mind, if he's going to miss 13 months, we're talking about a November turning into a December return. And at that point, I don't think he is a formidable player who can just retake the RB1 job, right? We saw J.K. Dobbins and Saquon Barkley come back from really bad knee injuries. And in their first year back, it took them more than just a week or two to get back in the swing of things. So even if he is back by week 10 or 11, he's going to be a shell of himself, in my opinion, a lot like KJ Hamler was at the start of last year. With that all being said, I think Denver's going to go out and they're going to put their nuts in a wheelbarrow and they're going to sign a running back $9+ million a season type of deal, right? A 3-year, $30 million contract, somewhere in that neighborhood, whether it's Montgomery, Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt's not going to get that much, but they're going to go out and sign a bigger name free agent running back because they need a ground game. Sean Payton is not going to ask Russell Wilson to throw the ball for what he times next season. Moving on to step number 4, and that is re-signing Alex Singleton. If you've been subscribed to the channel for a couple months or at least going back to last offseason, you'll know that old me, well, I'm clowning old me because I used to be very upset with the Broncos only signing Alex Singleton for a linebacker spot last year. He was arguably this team's best defender last year, outside of Pat Surtain. But Alex Singleton was vastly underrated in 2022. He is a free agent along with Jonas Griffith and Dakota Allen. That really just leaves Josie Jewell as a starting linebacker on this team. They're going to add another inside linebacker, and I hope they bring Singleton back. He had 163 tackles last year. He was one of the best linebackers in football, pound for pound, right? I know it wasn't a big marquee name like Roquan Smith or Tremaine Edmonds or someone of that caliber, but if you watched him play week in and week out, he was no doubt one of the most consistent pieces of this defense. And I hate myself for once calling him just a special teamer because, in my opinion, he was the best consistent linebacker on this team last year. Now, we also got an interesting tweet from Parker Gabriel. Excuse the Field Yates thing. That's my bad. But linebacker market is shaping up to be an interesting one. The Broncos like Alex Singleton. GM George Paton called him a baller at the Combine and would be happy to get him back. There are also going to be a bunch of veteran options. I know Alex Singleton has expressed interest in returning to the Broncos, right? He had the best year of his career, I think you could say, in 2022. And it sounds like the Broncos, there it is. Everyone clap it up for producer Sam, getting the job done. He's had a rough day today, but we're seeing why he's the most valuable member of the Chat Sports team. So with that being said, I hope it sounds like there's mutual interest on both sides. I hope they can get a deal done. So if you're already subscribed to the channel, by the way, make sure you got the notification bell icon turned on. That way, when breaking news happens, we go live, a signing gets made, anything of that nature during the free agency hot stretch the next week or two, well, if you got the notification bell turned on, you're not going to miss a single thing. So make sure you got that bell clicked. Moving on to the fifth and final element of our free agency plan, and that is signing Jameis Winston. Why? Because why freaking not? It's Jameis Winston. It's the 30 for 30 man himself. He has been with the New Orleans Saints for the last 3 seasons. The first year, he was an understudy to Drew Brees. He basically did nothing. Of course, in his second year there, he tore his ACL midway through the season. It was a bummer. He was having a good start. Last year, he got injured. They decided to roll with Andy Dalton, which I'll never really understand because there was absolutely no future with Dalton, but at least with Winston, there could have been something there. But 10 games, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Is anyone going to revolt against those numbers having to be your backup quarterback? Here, Sean Payton is going to bring a better backup QB in. There is no doubt about that. He is not going to sit by and just hand the reins over to Russell Wilson for 17 games uncontested and have some rookie be his backup. No, he's going to bring in a bigger backup name, and Jameis Winston would make a ton of sense, right? They've got the connection from New Orleans. Sean Payton signed him back then. He clearly saw something in him. And I think Winston coming off the bench, if that were to happen, would be the most electric backup coming into the game. Like a Mount Rushmore of backup quarterbacks you want to see go into the game, Jameis Winston is 1 and 2 on that Mount Rushmore, right? No one would be upset if Jameis had to go in, throw 2 touchdowns, probably a pick 6, but then another touchdown to win the game. So I'm all aboard the Jameis Winston experience train. That is my 5-step plan. I have some honorable mentions. Re-signing Dre'Mont Jones. Listen, if he's really going to get $18 million in free agency, I'll pass. I'm not going to pay $18 million for a player with 6.5 sacks last year. Even if he is an up-and-coming ascending player, and I look dumb for saying that in a couple of years, I just think that's an overpay. I think they should add another pass rusher potentially, right? How confident are they in Nick Bonito stepping up or Randy Gregory playing 15-plus games? I won't even ask for 17. If the answer is no to those 2 things, you probably need to add another pass rusher. You want to bring back Dalton Risner. If he doesn't get a lot of interest in free agency, I know it's not maybe the fun move after we more or less beat a very quiet drum to move on from him, but at the end of the day, he's not a bad offensive guard. He probably just isn't a franchise left guard, if that's even a thing, which isn't. So if he wants to come back for cheap, I'm probably not going to have a fit over it. And then there's this growing idea of signing CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't really know where it originated from because I like Justin Simmons and Caden Stearns as your 2 safeties, but I'm not going to say no to playmakers, and Gardner-Johnson is a playmaker. So to review my perfect free agency plan for the Broncos as a little bit of a primer for you guys before the real thing gets started, signing Mike McGlinchey, signing any offensive lineman for that matter, sign David Montgomery, bring back Alex Singleton, and add Jameis Winston to your quarterback room. So grade my perfect free agency plan to wrap up the video. A, B, C, D, or F. Before you get on out of here, drop a lettered grade down below.